covering all 4 major sports in the District of Champions. It's the DC Crossover Podcast with your hosts, Mike Cerrone and Ben Simpson.
Hello and welcome to episode number 101 of the DC Crossover. I am Ben Simpson. That is Mike Cerrone. You can follow the show at the DC Crossover on Twitter and at Cerrone16. And you can listen to the show every single week on all podcast platforms as well as The Contender. That's Contender with a K. Download the app. It is completely free. And listen to our show as well as some of the other content, both DC and Chicago related. Some great programs on the app. So definitely download it today. Check it out. And we appreciate it. I did want to shout out, I a little bit before we got on our show, one of the podcasts that we produce, the Bird's Eye View, True Stories of Professional Overseas Basketball, hosted by WNBA Mystics player Erica McCall. She shared this on Twitter that actually the podcast made a Spotify official playlist for visionary Black voices. So for Black History Month, there's looks like there's, 12 or 15 different shows on this curated visionary Black voices playlist made by Anchor and Spotify, and the podcast made the list. So that's pretty awesome. Wow. So shout out to Erica and that podcast. Again, you can listen to that one wherever podcasts. And season 2 coming this spring is the plan. So one more time, that's Bird's Eye View, True Stories of Professional Overseas Basketball, hosted by Washington Mystics player Erica McCall. So that's pretty cool, Mike. We made a Spotify playlist. I mean, we know this show's not making any cool lists, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something. Once again, it's kind of crazy how over the last 9 months or so that we've had all these people try to contact us. And, like the Contender, we also had another network contact us about going on their platform as well. And obviously Erica hitting us up and stuff like that. So it's kind of crazy how we've got these in the past. We've gotten these people in the past say like, hey, we got an opportunity for you and different things like that. And then I always forward it to you. And I'm always like, hey, do you think this is what I think as well? And usually it's a bot or it's some dude trying to scam you or something like that.
Right.
But luckily for us, the people that we did talk to, we kind of looked into them a little bit, and then we ended up talking. And actually, now they're kind of they're professional relationships. So you're looking at it, and it's kind of funny how all these things are kind of coming to fruition. Over like I said, over the last within the last year. So it's definitely cool to see Erica's podcast up there. And we're going to be talking logistics again once the new season comes back on. So we'll see if we can try to stream it back on this stream and maybe even possibly feature it on the Contender as well. We'll have to see how they're thinking about scheduling that and stuff like that. But a lot of logistics coming into fruition here in the next, I would say, 2 or 3 months. So we'll definitely keep you guys updated.
Yeah, big things popping for sure. So stay tuned to all the social media channels for the latest updates. Also, shout out to you, Michael, for winning the fictional player, the fictional athlete draft. There's a little louder one for you. So we did that one. In case you didn't listen to our special episode 100, Mike and I did a fictional athletes from TV and movies draft. Then we had you guys vote on Twitter. Mike won, I think, like 70% of the votes. And looking back at our lists, I do agree with the people that looking at our teams and being objective, I looked at the teams and I was like, you know what? I really like Mike's team a lot. I think you had a great draft, and you deserve the victory for that draft, Mike. So congratulations to you, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, when I looked at the draft, I ended up going back and taking a peek at some of the draftees that I had, and I ended up sending it to some of my people that I have in the works, family members and also, other friends and stuff like that. The problem is that sometimes you send it to people and they have no idea who the hell some of these people are.
Yeah, for sure.
I told you, like, I have no idea who Roy Hobbs is. I've heard of him
Yeah.
before, but I've never seen The Natural and different things like that. But like, I sent it to somebody, and they were like, "Who's Dottie Hinson?" And I was like,
Ah.
just get out of this chat.
Yeah, you're not in the
It's like,
conversation anymore at that point. Yeah, if you don't know some of these guys, I mean, these are pivotal sports movie heroes.
Yep.
If you don't know Dottie Hinson, then it's like, all right, we can't even have a conversation at that point. But no, you
Yeah,
did good.
it
You had a
was-
good draft. You had a good draft. I definitely. I've won some drafts. You've won some drafts, and that's what keeps it fun. And we're gonna have a lot of these this summer. We were talking about it the other day, just how when the baseball season does happen, whenever that ends up being, whenever they're still, I know they were meeting today to possibly prevent having to cut the season a bit, and it's like, oh, God forbid they cut it down from 162 games. It's like,
Yeah.
I think everybody would be happy about that.
Hey, real quick,
yeah.
I had a few honorable mentions that we didn't even think of.
Right.
A couple of them that were mentioned that this person said they have no skill whatsoever, so it doesn't really go with the dominant factor. But we didn't think of Icebox from Little Giants.
Oh yeah.
But I also discredited Becky because she became a cheerleader and then
we
became
didn't
a
really do
football
the
player.
kid angle with some of our picks.
Right.
Like some people were mentioning. I mean, I guess I did do Benny the Jet Rodriguez, but somebody else threw out like on Recess the tall like basketball guy. God, I forget his
Recess.
name. The cartoon show. I don't know.
I know
he was like a
Recess.
multi-sport athlete.
Yeah, but I don't consider Recess as a TV. I mean, come on now. Recess was something that was like some movie and show, like literally back in the early 2000s that no one remembers.
I love that show. Hey, don't knock TJ Detweiler.
No, I do love Recess, but I just don't think. I don't even know.
No,
you can't have a secondary character as like a most dominant athlete.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. No, I got that from somebody when I showed them, and I was like, I don't know. I don't even remember the guy's name because it's like that was such a non-important character.
Some other ones were, this one was stupid. Newt from The Big Green,
okay,
because he scored the game-winning goal, but he was the kid that like put his fingers up to act like he was a sheep or something, or a goat. Weird. Derice from Cool Runnings.
Yep.
What was this guy name? I'm trying to think of what was his name? From Cutting Edge. I'm trying to think of the. Gosh, yeah, I'm trying to think of it.
Help you there.
I'm trying to think of his character's name. I keep forgetting it right off the top of my head. Obviously, you got Airbud, which is he's a dog.
I thought about Airbud, but then I was like, man, I mean, I just think Airbud's athletic skills are just highly overrated.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, if you see Airbud, I'm gonna literally spear that dog. I mean, I love dogs. Don't get me wrong.
Sure, yeah. Let's take that back a little bit.
Like, come on now. Like, these kids can't tackle.
Beat the crap out of your dog. That's what he's trying to say.
Like, they can't play defense on a dog jumping up in the air.
No, I'm
like,
with
come
you.
on,
I'm
so
with you.
fake. And then obviously you have Charlie Conway, but Charlie Conway isn't even the best duck out there.
No.
Adam Banks is 10 times the player Charlie Conway is.
100%. So there's always with these drafts, there's always something we miss. So we appreciate you adding your input on Twitter again at the DC Crossover. We'll be doing a lot more of these this summer. A lot to get to on today's episode, so let's dive right into the rewind. A chance to look back at the previous week in DC sports and fill you in on some things you may have missed. We'll start with the Washington football team. Not a whole lot here. We're actually going to be talking about this more in the segment, but news did come out just the other day that there are supposedly 3 sites that are under consideration for the FedEx Field replacement. One of those locations located in Sterling here in Loudoun County, and then there's a couple other that are closer to Woodbridge. Also, rumors came out today about possible dome for the new stadium. I read something along the lines they wanted to kind of do something similar to SoFi, where it's like refracted light, or I don't know, different sorts of things like that. I'm not a scientist.
Prism.
Or yeah, there was something with the light. I don't know what to tell you. And it sounded like they wanted to make it where the dome itself wasn't retractable, but they would do it like SoFi, where the sides you can kind of, and Minnesota does this too, I think, where like you can make it open air on the sides of the stadium, so you can still have that sort of open air feel and not feel like you're in a little prison. So that's the Washington football team update. We'll talk about more in a bit. But the Caps played a couple games here this past week, Mike. Let the people know how they did.
So after the All-Star break, the Washington Caps 28, 17, and 9. They're fourth in the Metro right now. On Thursday, they lost the New York Rangers 4-1, which the Rangers avenged their 5-1 defeat to the Caps earlier, and I believe it was October. Ovi scored the only goal for the Caps. Samsonov had 17 saves. The Caps are 2-12-4 when trailing after 2 periods, so that is not a good sign, especially when you had the Flyers on Saturday, which they were down in the 40th minute, and that one as well, as they were down 2-1 after 2 periods in that one against Philly at Wells Fargo. TJ Oshie scored on a nice power play goal. The Flyers obviously went up 2-0 in the first, and the Caps just never could come back. And Tom Wilson got in a fight in the first period, and I don't know. It's going to be a tough time over the next, I would say, 2 weeks. Even though Anthony Mantha is possibly going to get back in the lineup here soon, full time and everything like that. So we'll see what happens. But right now, Caps kind of reeling a little bit, but they're kind of playing, footsie with us at 55, or excuse me, not 55, 5-5. Every single 10 games, it feels like nowadays. They win 1, they lose 2, they win 2, they lose 1, everything like that. So we'll see how the Caps do, but they went 0-2 this past week. Going on to the Washington Wizards.
Another 0-2 week for another team here in D.C. That's the Washington Wizards, now 27-33, 11th place in the Eastern Conference. Friday, losing to the Spurs in a crazy one, 157-153. This one went to double overtime, which when you get to double OT in the NBA, it's whoever doesn't run out of gas, and that's what happened with the Wizards in this one. Kuzma, another nice night. He's been the lone bright spot for this team lately. He put up 36 for the Wiz in the game, and the Wiz, after this one, 3-3 since losing Beal to the season-ending wrist surgery, and then make that 3-4 because of Saturday, losing to the Cavs 92-86. Our buddy Dan had a great point. I mean, they were coming off of a double overtime game against the Spurs. They probably just didn't have any legs, and Saturday they were only able to put up 86 points, which in the NBA is despicable. Kyle Kuzma, 34 points. Wizards held scoreless for a full 5.5 minutes. I was reading off some of the stat lines to you guys on via text the other day, where it was like, Denny had 0 points. You had like Neto with 2 points or something. I mean, this team just could not score in the game at all. Yep. So an ugly week for the Wiz as they continue their downturn. And who knows if we'll get to see Kristaps Porzingis play or not for this team. I mean, he's still injured. They still haven't.
They get him healthy. I mean, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah. For us, we're all in favor of letting him sit. And hey, you want to work him into a couple games at the end of the year just to hey, give him some reps or let the fans
10
sell
minutes,
some
something
tickets.
Like that each game,
it's like, hey, we're not going to knock you, but don't legitimately think when if KP comes back next week that this team suddenly turns into a playoff team, because I'm afraid to tell you people, but it's a long time ago when they were number 2 in the standings back at the beginning of the season, 10 games in. They have fallen quite far from that mark for sure. And the last thing we wanted to touch on, and we'll actually kind of roll this into the segment, is DC United kicked off their season on Saturday. And it's one of those things. Mike and I, we support DC United. We don't necessarily like every season. It's not like we've been diehard fans following every single game. I know in the past this show has occasionally touched on DC United. Bill Hamid, back when I was in college, I actually got to interview Bill Hamid while I was working at the radio station. He's the United's goalie again after a brief break. So that's fun. And yeah, this is for local fans here who are looking for another sport to support right now, because baseball hasn't started yet. Wizards stink. Caps are fine. I mean, definitely support them. But football season's done. I'll tell you, it's not a bad thing to go support the soccer team. It's a great stadium. It's an awesome time. And, hey, they started off the season right, Mike, 3-0 against Charlotte FC. This was the first game in Charlotte FC history. And it almost looked like Charlotte was going to take control of this one. Early play in the game, Charlotte scores, and then ends up getting called back from video replay and for an offsides. It was going to be 1-0 Charlotte, but DC United ends up winning 3-0. Michael Estrada with a penalty kick as well as an extra time goal at the end of the first half, and then Kamara scored in the 65th. So, pretty cool start to the season for them, Mike. I mean, I watch a lot of soccer. I know you watch a lot of soccer, but not necessarily MLS. But I think this season we're gonna become a DC United show. That's what I'm calling.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is in the past we usually, we usually kind of spin off, different things about the Nats or we kind of try to have stretch topics where like we're like, all right, we'll talk about this even though it's like 9 weeks away. But I think that we can start filling in DC United in a couple times here and there, and maybe get some interviews for different sports and whatnot. But I haven't made it out to Audi Field yet. I'm hoping to possibly do it in the next few months. But at the same time, it's like DC United. I told you off air that they're one of those teams that is so up and down. But I believe for the most part, besides like the top three teams in the MLS for the Western and Eastern conferences, that it's usually fluctuating. Overall, DC United has been, they've been in the bottom. They've been, top four, top five in the Eastern Conference. They go up and down, up and down. But I think this new field has kind of rejuvenated. And I think honestly, Wayne Rooney had a huge deal or a huge part in that when he was on the team, that he kind of rejuvenated this whole entire area back into DC United fans. Because people, like you said, your favorite stadium, RFK,
Right.
the chicken tenders. That's that story for the P1s out there. But that's the thing is, RFK, no one really wanted to go to RFK. It was breaking down and all that kind of stuff. But once they got Audi Field, literally right across the street, stone's throw away from Nats Park, everyone was like, man, we can possibly get into some soccer. And just like you said, me and you both watch soccer enough to know what the rules are, obviously, what teams are the best teams out there. You're a Sunderland fan. I'm a Real Madrid fan. When it comes down to like Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues and all that kind of stuff. So it's just something that we're going to try to, like you said, get it back into. And again, like you said, we're not going to sit there and follow DC United every single minute and into extra time and everything like that. But we'll watch highlights and we'll definitely, if it's on, we'll check it out in between the Nats games and stuff like that. If they actually have a baseball season, we're definitely going to be DC United homers for sure if they don't have a baseball season.
Right.
But yeah, definitely going to be excited to watch DC United square off in the future here.
Yeah, and it's not too hard to watch. It's like a 34 game season or something like that. It's not nothing crazy. And so yeah, I'm excited. I mean, the last 2 years they haven't qualified for the playoffs. It's been a rough past couple of years, but the 2018-2019 season they were top 5 in the conference, and I think this year's team's supposed to be okay. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to watching it, and it was definitely a lot of fun, especially because in the past, a few years ago, it was really hard to watch the games because you couldn't find them anywhere on TV. You had to go download
Yeah.
like Flow Sports and pay for that, and it was like terrible quality and all this stuff. I mean, the other night they were just on NBC Sports Washington. It was so great. They were right there on TV. I know it was a Saturday night, so they must have had like a primetime slot. But still, I'm hopeful that the games. I believe a lot of MLS games are going to be on ESPN Plus this year too, and I have that, so that's going to be easy too. So I'm excited. They got off on the right foot, and I enjoyed it. And I just think it's another product for fans locally to get behind because, hey, it's anything with a DC on it, you got to support. So
Exactly.
it's
Yep,
cool.
yep.
Well, we're looking forward to talking a little footy, as they say. Let's
Footy.
let's
Who says
yeah.
who says that?
Oh, the Brits, a little footy.
all
Let's
right.
move into
Brits.
another topic of conversation. If I can find the sound clip here. Here we go.
We are the Commanders.
We're talking Commanders. Yeah, football season's done, but we're gonna, this is gonna be a lot to talk about for the next few months. I mean, obviously the draft in April, so we have a full month or so leading up to that. But for DC fans, the big topic of conversation, besides the name change, is this whole new stadium conversation because Virginia put in their bids and things like that, and they're going to try to build a stadium for this team, and they're right now figuring out where that stadium will be. So, Mike, the news about the locations came out on Twitter, and the reactions were not positive, to say the least. People were not happy mainly because if you know Northern Virginia at all, there are some pretty crappy roads in DC and Northern Virginia and Maryland and that sort of thing. And the new stadium locations, basically the feedback was these roads and areas are already terrible traffic wise. And now, if you put a football stadium in these places, I mean, we're talking even 10 times worse than the traffic we already see in this area. So, Mike, when you saw these announced locations, what was your first thought?
So honestly, being a native Virginian for my entire life, I grew up in Sterling, Virginia. I grew up in countryside area, right across from Dulles Town Center. If people know where that is, right down Route 7. Um, so I'm going to address the first stadium location. We can just get right into it here.
Right.
So these are all obviously Virginia locations that they're proposing. The first one that they're proposing is near a quarry, right off of Route 28. I know exactly where it is. It's right next to a Sheetz and an Exxon station.
Classic.
And
Hey,
it's
we'll
also
be able to get gas after the game. That's for sure.
And it's right next to a bunch of data centers as well that are literally across the street.
It's very Loudoun County.
And the funny thing about that location too is right across the street. It used to be those data centers were sold because it used to be like a horse farm for years, and it was like they had stables and all this kind of. Because I used to work over in that area, and they literally had horses like roaming, like literally within 15 yards of Route 28, just like roaming and eating, like we were in like a pasture somewhere, in Missouri or something like that. It was crazy. And that's the thing is that location would be horrible, mainly because it would create gridlock on Route 28.
Yep.
Because yes, there is an overpass right there because it's right off of Old Ox Road. But the problem is that they would create even more problems for 28 because yes, did they extend 28? Yes, they did. But if you're having, say 50,000 people try to go through there, that's the one area that you can go through from 28. Is that one?
The metro's not out there yet, people. So
yeah,
you can't metro to the stadium like you can technically in Landover. Even though you metro in and you have to walk quite a while, but still, there's no metro. So the only way to get there will be to drive.
Exactly. And you're familiar with the area, and now that I'm living out here in this part of town, the other part is going near Herndon Parkway and everything like that, kind of near the Mellow Mushroom and Eldon Street and all that kind of stuff around there. So to try to go the back way, I mean, there's a couple roads that are just like, 2-lane roads or something like that, trying to go the opposite direction, but you're going into Herndon, which is still more condensed. So that's a terrible location, I believe. Then you look at one that's next to Woodbridge. Like, who wants to drive out to freaking Woodbridge? I mean, let's be honest here. That would be awful because the sole fact that literally you have to go down 95, which is one of the worst roads in the entire East Coast.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrible. It's one of those weird highways where like it could be 2 in the morning or like it could be 2 in the afternoon or whatever. And you think you're driving out there super early in the morning to quote unquote beat the traffic. Next thing you know, you're running into suddenly they've got things down to like 1 lane because they're doing something or fixing something, and it just screws you up. I mean, it's one of those roads where you're coming back from vacation, like if you're going down to Florida and you're driving back home and you're seeing the GPS on your phone, the time, the ETA, you see that number just start to go higher and higher and higher. Something's going on with 95 because
turns from green to red.
Yeah, that's when you start getting more and more pissed. You're like, we're never getting home. It's 95. That's what happens on that road. It's a terrible, terrible road.
Right, and then obviously the next one is even farther south, which is kind of near Occoquan and everything like that. Where I mean, it's just I understand their concern because of the sole fact that when you look at Fairfax, there's not really a lot of parts of Fairfax out there that they can put a big, huge stadium with all these different things. And that's the thing about Loudoun as well. Loudoun's the same way. The only difference is that Loudoun has Ashburn. You could have it right near. I mean, I'm not going to say right next to the practice facility because the practice facility is literally you can see it from 28.
Yeah,
I mean it's literally the bubbles right there.
Right
so
by Loudoun County Parkway. Yep.
Exactly. So the difference is that with Ashburn, you can get into Ashburn like 6 different locations.
Mhm.
You got Ashburn Village, you got Claiborne Parkway, you got Wax Pool, you got all these different places.
Route 7, yeah.
Exactly. You can get into Ashburn so many different ways that if you put it in Ashburn, now I understand like, all these different, loopholes you got to go through. But if you put it out in Ashburn, there's so much land in Ashburn. I mean, there's a couple different areas, but the problem is that they're saying that Dan Snyder wants to build, and that's if Dan Snyder's even here at that point. I mean, we'll see about that, but they're saying that literally he wants to do like shopping malls. I'm like, dude, just build a stadium, man.
Yeah.
Just build the and Ashburn now has the Silver Line, which at some point the Silver Line is going to open.
At some
point, this extension is going to open somewhere, and that's the thing is, I mean, it's been literally. I live across from the Herndon the new Herndon station, the brand new Herndon station, and literally they have postponed this thing for a year now, and that station has been built for literally like 12 months.
Yeah, because they I remember they had it ready to go, and then they started doing some tests on trains and stuff, and things started going wrong, and they were like, "Oh crap, we got to like fix some stuff before we can make this go." And it's taken forever. I mean, keep in mind, people, especially those locally, know this. I mean, when I was in high school, I was told that the metro was going to be here soon in Herndon, and that was like 10 years ago. So like it still isn't technically here, ready to go yet. So it's crazy. But no, you're right. Ashburn has a ton of land. I think there's a lot of opportunity out there to find a good location for a stadium. But I think Snyder, like you said, Snyder wants to find a way to make as much money as possible from this. So he's going to try to make some place that has the infrastructure to have malls and other places for fans to spend all their money and go right into Snyder's pocket and that sort of stuff. What we just want is a stadium with like sports bars around it, like where there's I was seeing some graphic earlier, I think Barstool posted or somebody showing how like the FedEx Field is at the bottom of the list of all NFL teams with any sort of sports bars in the surrounding area by it. It's got like one or something. Like there's nothing there. And I mean, part of the thing about being a fan is the pre-gaming or the post-gaming after a win, or you don't necessarily have a ticket to the game, but you're watching the game with other fans at the sports bar. It's a community. It's not necessarily just about every single ticket that people buy to go into the stadium. It's about building the local community and the fanship and that sort of thing. And you just can't do that at FedEx Field right now. You just can't really. It's all just going to be tailgating in the stadium itself. There's really no other elements to it. So it'd be great if they put it somewhere where, some sports bars can be built, and that way it can really become a really fun event for everybody, not just people drinking in a parking lot. You got to have more than that.
Yeah, and that's also something that they've been talking about is having, and this is lightning in a bottle. Kind of, but there have been rumors that DC really wants it to be back at RFK.
Right.
The biggest thing was that they were saying that it's the imagery, it's the name, it's all this. This is why it's not going to go back into DC. Imagery, name, everything kaput. It's done. So why can't we figure this out and just say, because I think they said something about they're going to tear down the RFK site and resurface the land and all this kind of. They said something about that. I forgot exactly what the quote was, so I'm not going to try to misspeak. But this is the thing: is if you just did it there, and I've always had this love for Monday Night Football, where they have this. Like for instance, like the Ravens, they always feel like. I always feel like they're on prime time. And think about this. When you're at, or even like Pittsburgh, for instance, I don't know why I'm using the AFC East or AFC North, excuse me, but you literally look and see the lights on. It's Monday Night Football. They had the blimp or some drone or something over top. You see PNC Park. You see the rivers in Pittsburgh, or you see Camden Yards all lit up. That's what I want. I want Nats Park lit up. I want Audi Field lit up. I want whatever the new stadium is going to be, UPS Park or whatever the hell it's going to be. Okay. I want that to be lit up so everyone can say, man, that's awesome. That's the nation's capital right there. And they got the imagery of the Capitol at night. They got the Washington Monument from the ground or something like that with all the flags and Lincoln Memorial, Big Abe over there. They got all these imageries things. But you see Monday Night Football now, And all of a sudden they're like, hey, it's the Lincoln Memorial. Sorry, you have to drive 30 miles to go
it's
see
nowhere
it
close
from
to here.
FedEx
Yeah,
Stadium.
yeah. Oh,
And
it's
they're
so
always
stupid. It's so no. They get the B-roll footage for the like you said when coming back from break and stuff, and it's all from like 15 miles away or whatever. Like it's not close. So it's like, I mean, I would be totally fine if they put it in the city. If they found a space where it could be near Nats Park or like you said, and I mean, I'm all for it. We already go down to the city for Nats games or for Wizards games, stuff like that. I'm not totally against having to go towards into the city to go to a football game. I think
right.
DC is probably worried about they've already have terrible traffic, but that's the thing. It's like traffic's bad everywhere. I think if you're gonna have bad traffic, I might as well put it in the city.
Well,
might as well put it
the
near
difference is the red line is already out there. So
Yeah,
if you
it's already
did it
there.
there,
Yeah.
imagine this. I want you to close your eyes here, Ben. Close your eyes.
Okay, I'll close. I'll humor you here.
Okay. The Lions are 10-7.
Oh, don't tease me.
Okay, 10-7. Oh, that tickle your fancy.
Yeah.
The Commanders are 11-6 or something like that.
All right.
Okay, and I think I already did the math wrong, but there you go.
Yeah, I was about to say they played one last game then, huh?
Yeah. So no, this is the thing: is that's their record. Week 18 comes along.
Ooh.
They're fighting for the playoff spot, the wild
it.
card spot, and they put it on Monday Night Football.
Ooh.
Lions at Commanders.
His desk is rising a little bit. Yeah, that's. I'm leaving that in. I'm not cutting that out.
I don't care. That's a lot.
No, that's.
So
I like that. I mean,
think about that imagery, okay?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you're like, babe, Abby, I have to go to this game.
Oof.
And I said,
I would go 100%.
And I tell my significant other, I say, and if it's Jess, hopefully, I say, hey, I got to go to this game.
Gotta go.
I got to go to this game. And we end up riding the metro, apparently changing tracks like 5 times.
Yeah.
And then we end up what we can do is actually change at the Metro Center. So then that wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. That's the move.
Change at Metro Center.
Yep.
And then we get down to the stadium without having hardly to drive a lick at all. I mean, yeah, we had to drive the Metro for an hour.
Easy.
But hey, we can drink. We can party. It can be a good game. The Commanders somehow pulled out in overtime, 30-27.
Yeah.
Chase Young has 17 sacks.
Yeah, Jared Goff was game-winning touchdown. Yeah.
I mean, imagine that though. Like you have a chance to actually go and watch a game without having to drive to Timbuktu out in Maryland, and that's a whole entire fight all in itself. Is that Maryland hates Virginia? Honestly, Virginia is just like the cousin that just doesn't see Maryland or Virginia or Maryland or DC, and we don't care about them. But somehow Maryland and DC hate us for some reason.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is. If we have it in DC, it's like the happy medium. Like Maryland fans can still go, DC or Virginia fans can still go, and people in DC can get the Capital bike share and get over there.
Yeah,
I think it's so easy.
I agree with you. I'd love that. And I think fans of the DC sports teams that live in Virginia are already used to at this point having to commute in on the metro or to drive into the city or something, to go see these games. So it's not like this would be a new thing for us. We're used to Virginia. You pile in the car and you drive. It takes you, an hour and a half to get into the city because traffic's so bad. But if you want to drive or you hop on the metro, it's like an hour metro ride, no big deal. That sort of thing too. So I'd love that. I'd love a brand new shiny stadium with the roof, and it just looks great. I mean, what I don't like right now is Landover. I don't like driving out to FedEx Field from Virginia. It's a haul, and it's just like you're never getting home, and it's terrible. So we'll see.
Listen here, I'm a diehard fan. Obviously you are Lions and DC. Combination kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm a diehard fan, and I haven't been to I used to go to a game, at least one game every single year. I haven't been to a game in like 3 years.
Yeah. Last one I went to was Lions.
I'm out.
When the Lions were in town, like you said. I mean, that was the last time. And the only reason I really went was because there's my 2 favorite teams. So otherwise,
exactly.
I wouldn't necessarily just go to just see the Commanders.
Our guy, Doug Kammerer, who is one of the most well-recognized meteorologists / news personalities in this entire area.
Local product went to Herndon, I believe. Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Pretty sure. Doug Kammerer.
Yeah, Wikipedia. I actually want to know that. By the way, Joe Snively, who was on the Caps, who has actually been on fire. He
Herndon
grew up
High
in Herndon.
School. Yep.
There you go. All right. So Doug Kammerer, who I believe does not like the name, he tweeted this out to JP Finley, or excuse me, quoted JP Finley's quote about the locations. He said, "This is not good. This would yet be another mistake for the Commanders that I hate." Or he said, "The Commanders hate the name, need to do whatever they can to be in DC at the RFK site." So, for a guy that's a local guy who has almost 70,000 followers, I think that he has some pull with the local people.
His opinion looms large, and I think he shares that with a lot of folks here. So we'll keep an eye on this story as it continues to develop. So yeah, we're going to be still getting some football talk in for sure, because you do have the draft. I mean, now we're about to hit March, so the draft is next month at this point now, and into April. So we'll also be getting into that as stories continue to fly around every week about the Commanders are looking at this QB, or no, the Commanders should go get this guy instead. I mean, it's going to be a crazy lead up to that. So we'll move on and hit up the final lap. A chance to give some quick analysis on some bigger stories in sports. 90 seconds on the clock. Here we go. MLB and MLB Players Union supposedly very far apart, Mike, in negotiations as the deadline for not having to cut some of the season looms large. I believe the deadline was technically, if they aren't able to come to an agreement today, they're going to have to trim parts of the season, Mike. That's big. That's big.
Honestly, Jeff Passan said earlier, I think it was today or late last night or something, that this was a horrendous day for Major League Baseball, because, I mean, Major League Baseball's fan base is most likely the older generation. So if you can't pull in younger fans by actually having a season, that's not good.
Yeah, Tom Verducci just said on MLB Network, there's a sense of momentum and conversations aren't hostile like they were earlier this morning. That was 11 minutes ago. We'll see what happens. March Madness, Mike, is right around the corner. Kind of crazy to think, but what is your top tip for not getting caught watching March Madness while at work?
Top tip while not getting I don't even know what I'm trying to say here.
Not getting caught watching March Madness at work.
Make sure you have a secondary monitor away from the entranceway of wherever you're at.
Very smart, very smart. My tip is always have another tab ready to go that you can just click over to it. And it has work stuff on it. So you can immediately just click over to that tab. Because it's suspicious if you just exit out of the box and they come over and there's nothing on your screen. They're like, what have you been doing here? No, you have another tab open with work stuff. You click over to there.
Empty Word document.
The Los Angeles, it just says work on it. Los Angeles Lakers lose by 28 points to the Pels last night. Dropped 5 of their last 6. Mike, Lakerland not looking too good right now.
Can you believe that they traded KCP, Montrezl Harrell, and Kyle Kuzma, and they got Russell Westbrook, and LeBron hasn't been like hurt like he was last year.
Yeah,
and they are playing
like the same as the Wizards are basically.
Yeah, exactly. They are playing so horribly that they got blown out at home to the New Orleans Pelicans. Literally, people were booing them. And LeBron's just like, whatever. I guess we'll get in the playing game and so try to surprise people.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just embarrassing to be honest with you.
And then last but not least, since we haven't done our regular show for a while, we didn't get a chance to chat about this. Of course, all of you have seen this by now. Juwan Howard getting suspended for the rest of the college basketball season for taking a swing at the Wisconsin coach, assistant, I believe. And there's a lot of stuff around that. It was like, Michigan was pressing late, and then Wisconsin was still scoring. I mean, a lot of drama around that. But regardless, the question arose from that as it became a talking point where it seemed like every head coach was being asked this, whether or not they should abolish handshakes, the handshake lines at not just handshakes in general, but the handshake lines, which specifically happen after basketball games below the NBA level. That's why it's such a weird thing because, well, I guess baseball below the professional level, they do handshake lines. I don't know if they do it in college after the game or not. I mean, I watch college baseball, but it's not like I watch the handshake line after the game. In football, they don't really. I mean, they'll do it in high school and things like that. I feel like college football, people just shake hands with whoever they want to shake hands with. But specifically with college basketball and high school basketball and all that sort of stuff, Mike, the handshake line. Do we even need it? We were talking about it. We were saying how in my opinion, I don't think we need the handshake line, Mike, at that age, at the college age. I just think it's pointless. I think it's really kind of a stupid tradition, honestly.
And the thing about it is that you're looking at, I heard a local radio station the other day that was talking about this, and they were like, yeah, it teaches sportsmanship. And this, like, these kids are like 19 years old.
Yeah,
they don't even know sportsmanship.
Yeah, I mean, they know. They don't need that.
Like, give it to the kid. I mean, first of all, this is the thing that also tilts me a little bit is the obviously we can go all day about the participation trophies and this and that or whatever.
Right.
But you want to talk about sportsmanship and trying your best and all that kind of stuff and respecting your opponent. That's when you do it, is in the Pee-wee leagues and the little leagues and all that kind of stuff, and say like, all right, guys,
totally fine with that.
Line up for the handshakes, stuff like that. And everyone lines up. Yeah, that's cool for, little Billy, who just caught 4 innings and his team lost 19-3. And he went 0 for 5 at the plate with 3 strikeouts.
Not a great game for little Billy. And and he accidentally ate a butterfly in center field. He flew right into his mouth. Poor kid, man.
Oh man, poor kid. But that's the thing. That's fine for them, little Billy. That's fine for them. But I heard this caller, like I said, on the local radio station, and it just tilted me because all the hosts were all saying like, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. They should do it. They should do it. But then the one caller, they were like, ripping into him. I mean, he was an older gent. But at the same time, he was saying, like, why can't they just, have the option to handshake their own people? Like, if me and you, for instance, are playing basketball and I somehow played dirty and like I did a Grayson Allen or something like that, why are you going to tell me, hey, get in the handshake line? And then they're like, oh, yeah, well, you don't have to handshake his hand. Like, who cares? Like, why can't I don't want to handshake the water boy who's going to be in the line. Sorry, you're pouring water for your team. I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, do we really need to shake the hand of the 7th assistant coach on the team? I mean, these college basketball teams have like 8 assistant coaches. Do we really need to shake that guy's hand, or the 15th guy on the bench, like the grad transfer who's 4'11" and is not going to get to play a lick all season long? It's like, why do we need to shake his hand? Is that teaching me sportsmanship by shaking his hand? No, that stuff is so overrated. Like, look, sportsmanship, we're all for. Like, respecting your opponent, we're all for that. I mean, obviously, but the constant like talking about it, it's like these are grown. I know they're college age and they're not necessarily grown men or whatever, but in a way they are. I mean, these guys are now with the NIL stuff, they're making money off their likeness and images. A lot of these guys are going to play 1 year of college basketball and then go play in the NBA. They are kind of like grown men, and they should be treated as such. And grown men aren't forced to shake hands after you spank your opponent by 35 points. Well, who cares? Why do you need to go? What does you shaking his hand do for your life or for his life? Do you think any college basketball player looks back at the handshake line as their big memories of college basketball? No, they don't give a crap about that stuff because it's stupid.
Yeah, and that's the thing about, like, look at the NHL, okay? You don't have the handshake line until the playoff series are done. You don't have
and that is one of the best handshake lines in sports.
Yep.
The ending handshake line after an NHL playoff series is one of the best. I mean, there's a reason why they keep the camera on for that, because you're watching two teams that basically went to battle. I mean, these guys they have
for
scars.
A series.
For
That's
a
the thing, a series.
I mean, these guys have scars from the games just from that series. They got bruises. A lot of these guys were fighting throughout the whole series, and you see them shake hands and give hugs after the game. I mean, Tom Wilson, that's the thing. Is like everybody's, oh, Tom Wilson's such a dirty player. You know how many guys in the NHL respect the hell out of Tom Wilson for the way he plays? And you see it after the Caps win a series, which hopefully we'll get to see him do that again this year. After they win a series, there's a reason why the guys give Tom Wilson big bear hugs and smiles and things like that, because they go, man, I know we hated each other during this series, but I respect the hell out of you as a player, and I'm going to give you props after this battle that we just had. And that's one of the coolest handshake lines in sports.
Yeah, I mean, the series is a huge deal because, like you said, hockey is such a physical sport that, I mean, people are getting hit every 5 seconds, it feels
brutal. It's brutal.
And that's the thing is, after you lose, you go to the locker room. Regular season, you go to the locker room. But after a series, it's a playoff series where it's one of the sports that is the toughest to get to the NHL Stanley Cup because of the whole fact that you got like many series that are, you're just batting and bruising every other night. And that's the thing is when it comes down to, for instance, college basketball, you should handshake at the end of a March Madness game. Like if you are the 16 seed, like if you're a UMBC and you're UVA and UMBC goes out and beats you, okay, for like the first time like ever, whatever the stat was before. If you're Tony Bennett, you're gonna go and say, "Hey, good game, guys. You guys beat us. You guys got the better of us tonight. That's how it is." But if it's like game number 13, where it's it's Duke versus Winthrop or something like that.
Yeah.
Does that really matter if Duke wins by 27 and Coach K? Yes, he is a respectable coach. And he's the most winning of all time, but. Do you really think that he should sit there and say like, all right, guys, got to go shake Winthrop's hand, even though we won by 28? I mean, I just think that it's a forced situation where say you played with the guy from Winthrop or whatever back, in high school or whatever, I'm just throwing out a name. I don't even know why I picked Winthrop.
Yeah. We're picking on Winthrop. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know what their mascot is, like an eagle or a hawk or something.
Couldn't tell you.
And I know it's like an orange. It's like kind of like Bowling Green colors. But anyways, that's the thing is like if you play with a guy, like, hey, go talk to him for a little bit or whatever before you have to go to the locker room.
Go shake hands if you want to shake hands. Like
like the NFL, like they exchange jerseys and stuff like that. Like go ahead and do that. Like go dap up your guy. Don't, like I said, don't make, and you mentioned it as well, don't make me go shake freaking Hansel's hand. I don't even know why I said the Hansel. Go shake someone's hand that literally hasn't played since high school varsity 4 years ago. It's like, I just think that people are so hell-bent on making sure that everyone is so kosher and you can't have feelings about the game. Like if I'm going to battle, if I'm going to play football or something like that, and it's a regular season game, like, the Commanders versus the Bears or something like that, that doesn't really matter.
Right.
I mean, if I hate this dude and he's playing dirty, like, poke him in the eye and stuff like that, why would you make me go out there? Now, again, this is the NFL, it's different. Yeah. But why would you make me go out there and say, I'm going to get in this handshake line, and you're going to say, oh, you don't have to shake his hand, but you got to shake this guy's hand because he was clapping on the sidelines. Like it literally, that is just such a loser mentality. That's like, oh, everyone's got to be friends. No, I don't have to be friends. No. If I don't like you, why do I have to? And you can say, oh, you should respect this guy. It was a hard fought game. Like, dude, this guy can go screw himself. Like, I don't care. I've had so many instances, especially back in high school. I was playing lacrosse and stuff like that. Literally, they had to separate my school versus our rival school. And I'm going to say it out loud. Screw it. Potomac Falls High School versus Dominion. Yeah. We hated Dominion, and they hate us. And that's just how it is. Dominion sucks anyways, but that's just how it is. And they had to literally separate our two teams because they were worried that some people were going to fight. Because we also had some football players on our team. So, there is some bad blood there already. But you're just looking at it and saying, like, there's so much trash talking that goes on in between a game that coaches sometimes don't hear that. Fans sometimes don't hear that. I mean, if we're sitting there and this guy's whispering in my ear, like telling me to go F myself, why am I going to say like, hey, buddy, dab it up, good game. All right, I respect you. Hey, screw off.
Yeah, really. It's so forced. It's forced.
Go pound sand. Go kick rocks.
It's such a forced interaction that just doesn't need to happen. And look, if you want to keep it at the high school level, okay, fine, but eliminate it from the college level, or give them, like we said, give them the option. If they want to go shake the guy's hand, they know the guy from AU or whatever, and they're competing against each other and wants to go shake his hand. Yeah, of course. Awesome. Right. That's awesome. But the stupid lineup, let's go down the line and shake everybody's hand. It's so dumb. Right. We'll move on to some trivia here as we near the end of the show. Let me play the trivia music. All right. As we do every single episode, Mike gives me a DC sports trivia question, and I give him a Detroit sports trivia question because we both own the same trivia game. One for DC, one for Detroit. Michael, I have your question here today.
Hit me with your best shot, Pat Benatar. Here we go.
This is relatively easy, but we'll see. In 2004, what big man was traded from the Trailblazers to the Hawks for one game, then from the Hawks to the Pistons, and was a part of their playoff run?
For the championship run, you're saying?
I might be saying that. Trailblazers to Hawks, then Hawks to Pistons. You know this player, by the way. He's not like a scrub you've never heard of.
Well, yeah. I'm trying to. A one game for the Hawks.
He's definitely more known for being on the Trailblazers.
Man. Okay, so my one question is: was he an established veteran of 10 plus years at that time?
He wasn't 10 plus years. But
Like, was he like a Scottie Pippen going to the Blazers?
He had played
Like a later half in his career.
He had played looks like 8 seasons with the Blazers at that point. So yeah, he was decently established in the league.
And you said it was a forward?
Yeah.
Gosh.
And you know this guy. Trust me, you know him for sure.
Because if you traded him during the season, then it wasn't one of the starting 5. So I got to go with somebody that's not Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, Prince, and Rip and Chauncey, obviously. Man, I'm trying to think of the first kind of couple guys off the bench. Let's give me the initials.
RW.
It was Rasheed?
It was Rasheed. Yeah, he didn't start that year with the Pistons.
Really?
They pulled off a trade to bring him in, and actually was a key part of the championship run, obviously. But yeah, no, he didn't start that year in Detroit. That was one of the biggest moves for the Pistons. There was bring in.
I am
Rasheed.
shocked. I honestly thought that he started the season with them. I mean, obviously this is freaking 16 years ago.
Yeah,
so.
2004. Yeah, 18. So yeah, it was a while
18,
back.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's Rasheed Wallace was traded. To the Pistons, yeah, and he was previously on the Trailblazers, which back then was known as the Jail Blazers, because all these guys were like getting in trouble with the law and stuff. And it was the Zach Randolph was on the team, Rasheed Wallace. I mean, they had some guys that got in a lot of trouble back then.
Wasn't Dallenberg on that team?
Dallenberg, yeah. So there was some troublemakers.
Yeah, I think wasn't Dallenberg? Didn't he go to? Wasn't he on the Blazers and then went to the Sixers?
See, or maybe it was the Knicks, something like that. Yeah.
Anyways, so all right, here we go. So mine is not really a sports question. It has to deal with the Nationals.
Okay.
But here we go. Actually, I got 2 cards that are amazing. But I'm gonna go with this question.
Yeah.
Whose likeness was the first non-Mount Rushmore president to be featured in the president's race at Nats Park? Obviously, the president's race has not been as it used to be because obviously Teddy has won. So everyone's like, all right.
That was great back in the day when he hadn't won.
I believe right now there are 6 presidents.
Mike, I have one that's just calling to me right now, and I'll just go with my gut. And I know I'm pretty sure he's not on the Mount Rushmore. Well, actually, here I'm going to ask you this: Does his last name start with a T?
I can't say that.
Okay.
I mean, not saying that it is or it isn't, but I'm saying.
Sure. Is he a bigger gentleman?
At the time of his presidency,
is he pretty rotund?
Is he pretty?
Is he known for being pretty big?
Is he spherical?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, is it Howard Taft?
William Howard Taft. Yes. Bill.
Yeah. I call him
little Billy.
I just call him Howard Taft because we're close. Howard Taft. Okay, yeah, Taft. Yeah, Taft was huge. That guy was a big fatty.
Well, don't they have like William Carver or something on there now?
Oh, they added something to the president's race.
Or was that like
it wasn't William Carver? That's George Carver. But
George Carver. Wasn't it like a one-time thing or a specialty thing?
President's rate, because I know it's always like. All right, so right now the current list is Washington, Lincoln, Jefferson, and Roosevelt. That's the current 4 listed on the website.
Okay.
And most of those are the classics. So, yeah. So I think maybe Roosevelt and Taft were switched out. Like maybe Taft was in there, and then they were like, nobody really knows Taft, so they were like, all right, we're gonna put Roosevelt in there.
Wait, why did it say? It said whose likeness? Who?
Well, because it's
out of
not the actual president running. I think that's probably.
Well, it's like I understand that, but I'm saying, like,
I know.
seriously, out of 50,
It is a weird way to put it.
over 50 presidents, and we're sitting here like, oh yeah, I mean, one of my favorites is Howard Taft.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean,
really want him to run in the race. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a weird
Howard
choice.
Taft.
It's a weird choice. And I think Coolidge like ran once or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
There's
that's
been some
Calvin Coolidge. That's the
Calvin
other one I'm
Coolidge.
thinking of.
That's who you were thinking of. Yeah,
not Carver.
yeah. Funny enough, and I'll say this real quick because we're running out of time. But when a couple times when I did stand up comedy, one of my jokes was about how they chose Calvin. Like, why did they choose Calvin Coolidge as the president? I'm not going to tell you like the whole bit.
Okay. Hit me a joke. Hit me a joke.
No, that was the bit, was talking about that choice. I don't, it's not like I don't tell knock jokes. I'm observational. Let's move on and hit up the money line before the end of the show here. Sponsored by DraftKings. Shout out to Mike, who has now won back-to-back picks titles for our little runs of picks. Here we're going to start a new one now, but Mike won the first one. He won 21-23 to 19-25. So we were both in the red, but you still had more correct picks. And then you put together a real strong last few weeks of picks, and you put up 25-20 record. I was at 21-24. So now we a brand new slate here, but Mike has a 2-0 series lead. My lock, I mean, it's tough now with sports. It's tough to make these picks now. It's rough. So my pick, I'm taking this is, don't you pronounce this Leicester over?
I thought it was Leicester.
I think it's like just Leicester. I think the C is silent.
Damn Brits, man.
I mean, yeah, I don't follow Premier League as much as like the Sunderland in League One, but pretty sure it's Leicester or something like that.
They call fries chips. Okay,
Yeah,
there's chips and there's fries.
So they play Burnley tomorrow at 2:45, and they're the favorites. So I'm going with Leicester. And then my dog.
Are you going just straight money line?
Yeah, straight money line.
Okay.
And then there was no spread or anything. And then my dog, I'm taking the Caps, who are 1.5 point dogs against Toronto tonight. So I'm hoping the Caps at least cover that. And those are my two picks this week.
We didn't come up with a bet like oh, you buy me a chicken sandwich or something.
Not yet, but we should do something when you get to like we'll say like best of 7, and we'll come up with something by the time one of us like is close to closing in on 4. So 4 wins. Yeah.
All right, well, geez, that's gonna take.
I'll buy you something. Yeah.
It's gonna take like 2 years.
Maybe like a situation where like I get to buy you some of your favorite foods, and I have to eat some like a bunch of vegetables or something.
Oh,
like,
Jesus!
Like I have Brussels sprouts and like cauliflower.
Well, I mean, we have to have a stopping point though, so it has to be.
Yeah, we'll say best of 7.
Oh,
and around this. Oh yeah, you mean like for the individual series stuff? Okay, maybe not best of 7, best of 5, best of 5.
Because I'm saying best of 5 is still going to take. If say you win 2 in a row, that's going to be like 8 months from now.
Yeah, we're planning on doing the show for a while, so yeah. I think
I'm talking about like each set of records. We should have like a bet I got to choose a.
Okay. I get you.
All right, we'll figure it out.
Figure it out for this one. We'll do it for this one for sure.
Okay, we'll figure it out. So my lock, I actually did not find a spread for this because I don't even know if soccer has spreads. They might, but
yeah, it's usually not. It's usually like just money lines.
So or
it's
60,
like
60
money line for
lines
each side, or you could choose a draw.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go. Honestly, I'm gonna say DC. I'm gonna go with my own thing, and I'm gonna say DC United -1.5 over FC Cincinnati. FC Cincinnati, I believe, has finished last over the last 4 years. And apparently they have only won I think they've only won maybe like 12 games in the last 3 years. So I think last year they lost. I think last year they lost 22 games or something like that. So yeah, I'm gonna go. DC United is gonna win by 2 over FC Cincinnati. Okay. And obviously I made that spread up. But it's more of a if you want to. If you want to make a line, if you want to. And my dog, I'm going to go with the Bucks to cover versus the Heat. The Bucks have been struggling. I think they lost 4 of their last 5. They got a game tonight, I believe, against the Pacers. No, against Charlotte. They have a game against Charlotte tonight where they're 10.5 point faves. But I'm going to go on Wednesday. They're going to play the Heat, and they're going to cover whatever spread that is because I think the Heat are good. But the Bucks, there's got to be a do theory here, and they got to get off the schneid at some point. I think they win tonight, and hopefully they cover whatever spread it is against the favorited Heat on Wednesday.
Those are our Moneyline picks, sponsored by DraftKings. Bet responsibly. That about does it for episode 101. We're in the 100s now. 3 digits for these episodes here. So it's good to be back. Of course, go back and listen to episode 100, our specialty episode. It was a lot of fun doing the draft and stuff. And then, again, follow the show on Twitter at the DC Crossover and at Cerrone16. Subscribe, download the Contender app, and we will see you next
Vamos
week.
United.
Vamos United!
we gotta have a button like that or
Oh, yeah,
something.
we do. See you guys.